Of my father's, the only one I had ever met and the only one I had ever known about. He used to come up here to call on my father. So this is Lamar Eddinger. He lived near Philadelphia, and I wouldn't be surprised that he is long gone. Now we will start with my brother and I. We'll start with Clyde. This is a picture of Clyde when he first come out of the service. Now on the left is his wife Jane, his son Jimmy, Clyde, Helen and I. We were married then, and we'll see what we can do about getting a little. So that's Clyde there in the middle of the picture. He was just out of the service. And, of course, over here is Helen and I. And back is Jane and Jimmy. She was Jane Culhane. So that's Jane, Jimmy, and Clyde. Now to get back to Clyde. Clyde graduated from high school in 1937. Then he went to Niagara, and then he got into Niagara University and graduated in 1941. He graduated as a chemist, and then he became a chemist at International Graphite Company in Niagara Falls, New York. Then he was drafted into the Army as a second lieutenant in the infantry in June 20th of 1942. He was in an infantry division. He was sent to England. From England, on D-Day, he hit the Normandy beach. And after that, he was assigned with Patton's outfit. He was at Bastogne at the Battle of the Bulge. He had the Purple Heart with 3 clusters and the Silver Star. And he was discharged in 1948. He went to work at Distillation Products of Kodak. He lived on Mayflower Street, just beyond Kodak. Now this is a picture of his family shortly, a couple of years after, few years after he was working there. This is the top, Clyde, Jane, and down the bottom is John, Mary Ann, and Jimmy. So at that time, that was the Eddinger family. When the Korean War occurred, Clyde was redrafted, put back in the service, and by that time, he had 4 children. But he was still taken into service, and from left to right, you see Jimmy, Jane, and Tommy, the youngest one, and Clyde, and down in front was John and Mary Ann. So after Korea, he stayed in the service. And this is a picture of him when he was stationed, they were stationed in Hawaii. So after that, he had 2 tours in Vietnam, 2 tours in the Pentagon. And then he was sent to War College. He graduated from War College. Then he became a full colonel. Now this is a picture of him on the day he graduated from War College. And my father went. I was working and I couldn't go. And that's from left to right. This is his youngest son, Tommy, Clyde, and my father. And this we have Tommy and Clyde and my father on his graduation day from War College. Here, taken in front of his home in Springfield, Virginia. From the left to right is myself, Jane, Tommy, and Clyde. This is in front of his home in Springfield. Got interrupted on that one. So, from left to right is myself, Jane, Tom, and Clyde. In front of Clyde's home in Springfield, Virginia. Maybe I can bring us in a little bit. That's Jane and I, and Tom and his father. Picture of his oldest son, Jimmy, and his wife, and their first child. She was a Texas blonde, very, very pretty girl. And he was in the insurance business, and for some reason, they got into trouble, and he divorced her. And this is a picture of James Eddinger, the oldest one of Clyde's children. Now the next one we'll take a check at is John Eddinger. This is John and his first wife. And this is taken to my Davenport. They were up here because he was best man at Bill's wedding. So this is John Eddinger and his wife, and I cannot remember her name. But this is John Eddinger. And from what I can find out now, John is now with his third wife. And I think he lives in Colorado. Mary Ann. She's Mary Ann Thompson now. This is a picture of Mary Ann on her wedding day. It's probably the best picture I've got of Mary Ann. See if we can get closer to her. This is Mary Ann Thompson on her wedding day. Clyde's pride and joy. Now this is one of the last pictures at the farm that I think Clyde was up. This is Clyde and Tommy. And you can see the barns in the background. And they're riding around on the back of the tractor in the trailer. My father had rigged up for these occasions. That's Clyde and his son Tom. As far as I know right now, Tom has since married, and I believe he lives in Fort Lauderdale, or he lives down near Miami someplace. Now this is a picture of Clyde and I on Mary Ann's wedding day. He was still in the service. He was in the Pentagon. And as you can see, he has all his ribbons on. This is Clyde and myself at Mary Ann's wedding. Picture I have to throw in. This was when he returned from Hawaii, and this is Jane, Mary Ann, John, Clyde, and Tom, and their dog. They brought their dog across the country in that car. I don't know, they had to be crazy. This good picture I have of Clyde was taken in my kitchen. And this is Clyde as I'll always remember him. He was like Bill. He had a sharp wit, very, very up on every subject. And he enjoyed a good time. And he had gray hair. And he was sure one sharp cookie. Now Clyde retired at 53 years of age. And then he moved to Florida in the December of 1974. And then he died December of 1976. He was buried in Arlington Cemetery, and he was buried as a field colonel, and his funeral had caissons, the horses, he had the works. He was buried with the full military honors in Arlington Cemetery in December of 1976. The second son in the Eddinger family was myself. And this is Helen and I. This is Helen and I. Pictures of this very engaging couple. This is Helen and I, Helen and Bill Eddinger. Always at Christmas time, I guess. But that's Foxy and I. Helen and I had 3 children. On the left is Bill, down in front is Paul, and then up in the corner, up on the right, is Lenny. That's the 3 Eddinger children when they were small. Kind of had a family portrait made. Of course, up in the left is myself. Then comes Bill, Helen. Down front is Paul and Lenny. Or Len. Now maybe we can get some close shots of this at that time. That's myself, Paul, Helen, Mom. I guess get back. Myself, Bill. How could I mistake Bill for Paul? And Helen. And then down in front of Helen is Lynn. And then is the little one, Paul. A little more. Go up a little more. We come to Lynn in the back. Paul down front. And Bill over on the right. Bill looks more serious every day. That's the 3 of them as they grew a little older. Now in later years, here's a Christmas photo. And from left to right, you see there's Bill, Lynn, and Paul. The 3 of them. The 3 Eddinger children. Come a little closer. There you have Bill, Lynn, and Paul with the whiskers. The 3 Eddingers. Now this is Bill at Christmas time in his younger married years. Betty Jo and Bill. As you see, Bill has dark hair. This is Betty Jo and Bill. And we'll go through Bill's family. There's these 2 here at a Christmas time. This is another picture of Bill and Betty Jo And I believe this is at a christening. I think they're the godparents. And there you have Betty Joe down on the left. And then we have Willie up here. And he's slowly getting gray. That old codger. Bill and Betty Joe have 2 children. This one here is Jimmy. And we refer to him as Jimmy Bean. But this is James Eddinger. And at the present time, he's going to college. Is Katie Eddinger. She is quite a girl. She's a basketball star now, so she's busy all the time. A busy girl. She's in high school. She's a junior at this time. That's Katie Eddinger, the daughter of Bill and Betty Joe. Their 2 children. Now this is a picture taken a couple of years ago down at the pond for a background. We have Katie. This is Bill and Betty Joe's family. On the left we have Katie, then Bill, then Betty Joe, and then Jimmy. Bill and Betty Joe's family. So as you see here, we have Katie and Bill, Betty Joe, and Jimmy. The 4 members of this family. If I'll quit knocking this machine around, we'd be all right. Picture of Lynn and her husband, Frank Sinek. After 15 years, they broke up and got a divorce. But this was Lynn Eddinger and Frank Sinek, which became Lynn Sinek. These pictures are taken when someone was having better days. They weren't always better days. So it ended up in divorce. This is a picture of Lynn's daughter, Beth Ann Sinek. And of course now Beth is just about 25 years of age. This is not the latest picture of her, but this is a picture of Beth Sinek. That's Bessie. And then we have Christopher Sinek. This is Chris, who at the present time is going to York, Pennsylvania to college. This is Christopher Sinek. Now this is a picture of Paul and Ginny Eddinger and their children. Only one of them isn't really showing, but they're all there. Up there, it's Paul and Ginny, and down the bottom is Jessica and Jillian. Now that is taken a few years ago. Family picture of Paul's family when Paul had a mustache. That's Paul up in the back, and then down to the right is Jessica. Over to the left is Jillian, and down in the middle is Mother, Jenny, and way down in the corner is Jordan, little angel Jordan. Maybe we can get some of them a little closer. We get the 3 in the background up here, Paul in the middle, Jessica on the left, and Jill on the right. And then we come down to Jenny here in the middle, and little Jordy down here. Jenny and Jordan. the Eddinger family. This year's pictures of Jessica. This is Jessica Eddinger. This is the second one in line of the girls. This is Jillian. Jillian Brooke Eddinger. Get her closer. Well, 'cause she can't think of doing, nobody can. Jillian Brooke. Jillian Brooke Eddinger. The latest picture of Jillian, so I better put it in or she won't like it very much. This is Jillian Brooke Eddinger. To the youngest one of the Eddinger girls, Jordan. Jordy Lee Eddinger. My, she looks so innocent, that rascal. Jordy Lee. Jordy Lee Eddinger. Jordan. A picture of Paul and Ginny alone, but this is Paul and Ginny. Of course, taken at another Christmas scene. Paul and Ginny Eddinger. So this is Helen and I with our 3 children. Right to left, from left to right I mean, Bill, Helen, Lynn, myself, and Paul. Now we get over here. We get Bill and his mother. And it's Helen, Lynn, and I, and Paul and I. The 5 of us. Now this is a picture of a party down to the farm. My father had kind of a family reunion at, with the Henrys. Now, I do not know all the kids' names, but way in the background is Tricky Mickey. Of course, Fran and her son is standing there in the back. Now as we come up front, over on the tractor is my father and Paul. But then we come here, we come to Bill Henry. He stands right out as usual. And I believe the next one is Patty Henry. And the next ones are mixtures of Fran and my daughter Lynn is in the background too. I don't know who the rest of I can't name all these kids. But these are the Henrys, the Zimmermans, and the Minute children. Except for my daughter there. And of course Fran, Tricky Mickey. As you come across, and you can pick out Bill Henry. He hasn't changed a bit. Now this is Eileen and Jimmy Minute and 3 children. Eileen and Jimmy Minute. Were their 3 children, Eileen and Jimmy. the whole outfit. I hate trying to take these pictures because the only thing you can do is try to get in the back and bring them in a little. But you don't always do it. Man, I look rough in that picture. There's my Uncle Francis. That's Francis Henry on the end. We'll go to the back row. That's myself. And there's Scotchy back there. Then comes Tricky Mickey McIntyre. And then Gordy Zimmerman. And that's my Aunt Pearl. And that's Francis Zimmerman. And that's Ella Henry. And this is Jane Henry, Scotchy's wife, and my mother. Now we get back over to the front. That's a Zimmerman girl. And then comes Lynn. Then comes my son Bill. Down in front of him is Paul. And these look like the Minute Children, 3 of them in a row. And up behind them is Bill Henry. And then we come over to more Zimmermans and Minutes. As I said, I sure don't know one from the other. But that is down to the farm.